Hi everybody, welcome. I'm Jenna. This is Apple Dolly Creations. We're going to hold off for a couple minutes because we're in an event with Creative Crafters Ensemble. So while we wait, let's see if I can find myself over here. I don't know if y'all have been having issues, but oh, right there. Wow, maybe today won't be a problem. I don't know. Facebook has been screwy. So say hi when you hop on so I know that you're here. Because one day it said I was live and nobody saw me. Hi Joanne, welcome. So I hope everybody had a good Easter. So I plugged my Chromebook into, it won't charge. So I could see comments, but I can't, it won't charge. Oh, hi. Thank you. This is Creative Crafters Ensemble. I am Jenna with Apple Dolly Creations. This is my segment of the tiered tray. Hi, Brenda. So I want to welcome everybody in. And if you did not see Renee with Rustic Daisies, she was on right before me. Go back and watch her replay. She went into really deep details on how you can decorate and display a tiered tray. Now, I have one. I tried to go find it. It's packed away, but it's somewhere. But the way I use a tiered tray is on my sewing table. I have a bunch of yogurt, those glass containers on all three levels. And I use my tiered tray more as an organizer than for to display pretties on. So I just put all my, pins and clips and my glue sticks and all the would do this. I'm like, okay, I got to get my brain in gear. What am I making? So I decided a little beehive and a bumblebee and a little crow. Now I was sitting here at 5:30 this morning and I made one of these just so I would know. Hi, Jody. Thank you for sprinkling. Hi, Donna. So I would, I like to make something first before I go live. And that way I could work out any kinks or I can add to after I make a product or item. Hi, Dawn. Thank you for sprinkling. Hi, Diane. Hi, Dawn. Yes, I saw that, Dawn. I saw I froze for a second. Hopefully we don't keep having that issue. So I want to thank Gia for having me. So this is made, I didn't use muslin for this. I have pieces of a tablecloth, and that's what I made all of these, or not a tablecloth, a dish towel. That's what I made all of these. I don't know where tablecloth came from. We, we're going through a bit of chaotic stuff here now. So our truck broke down on our way to our son's for Easter. Hi, Tracy. And it's in a garage down there, and we have to go back and get it. I'm glad, Dawn. Thank you for sprinkling, Tracy. So I went looking for a good beehive color of paint. And all I had was really bright yellow. So I made my own. So this is a bright yellow paint that I added brown and just a little bit of black too to get this color. So I'm like, I know I have it. I know I have a lot of things somewhere. So I'm using wet paint brushes. It just will make the paint glide a little bit better on fabric. Yeah, welcome to the chaos. Right now, that's what Tony and I are, chaotic. So we had to get a vehicle to come home so he could go to work. And we got to go back on Friday. Yeah, a 3.5, 4-hour trip. Took 6 hours to get there because of transmission. So if anybody has a Silverado truck, And naturally, our warranty just ran out. The transmission guy told him that in a Silverado, every 50,000 miles, transmission has to be flushed. We didn't know that. Nowhere in the literature of this truck does it say that. But I guess it is a problem with Silverados. So, if you have a Silverado, make sure, because that $6,000 is kind of, it bites when you're not expecting to spend money like that. So, yeah. Oh no, your dog. Hi, Kathy. Yeah, so, yeah. So we're reeling about this $6,000 and keeping our fingers crossed that when he starts tearing everything apart, that he don't find something else, because you know they always do. And that $6,000 was with my son's discount, so like holy crap. So our Easter had a bit of a. Hi Tracy. Hi Debbie. Hi Yvonne. Had a bit of a damper on it. So I'm just painting this all up. We're going to paint everything. Then I'm going to dry it. But while this paint on this beehive is wet, we're going to put our markings on it with brown paint. So, and since I've been moving this room around, I've moved it around probably 6 times. I can't find my gloves. So, the problems of moving. So eventually I will get this room all done, because I thought the house was more important. So I'm taking a tiny little brush and some dark brown paint. Now all of my brushes are going to be wet, and I'm just putting just a tiny bit on it. And I'm just going from seam to seam right across. It doesn't matter if the lines are straight, just going straight across. And this is just going to give us some detail on our beehive. Now the one I made at 5:30 this morning, I went out in the yard and got a branch, because I'm going to put a little post on here for the crow to sit on. But I was looking for some other things, and I found some cinnamon sticks. So on this one, I'm using a cinnamon stick as the perch. Hi, Kay. So while the paint is wet and I'm using a wet brush, this makes it look real faded. I'll show you in a second. So I don't have to go back and see how it makes it faded. Hi, Christy. If I missed anybody, I do go back and listen or read my comments. Hi, Barbara. How are you? And I'm going all around the edge. And I have hardly any paint on my brush. Just all around the edge. And it's just going to highlight it, give it a little bit more detail. So depending on how big the tiers are, the space between your tiers on your tiered tray, you can make it bigger, smaller. Oh, there's a white spot. The problem with using a dish towel is it really sucks the paint. So I'm just going all the way around, just rubbing it in just a little bit. So there we go. So while it is wet, I'm going to put the hole that the bees go in and out of. Now you can draw all this on if you want. I'm just winging it. And we're going to set it aside and let it dry. We're going to go to our bee and we're going to get it painted. So I also am using the same paint. I'm just going to paint this all up. Everything like this, and it goes so much quicker. But like I said, I've moved this room where I can't find my gloves. I'll find them when I go buy another box. You know how that goes? And we're going to set this little thing aside and go paint our bee, and then we'll come back and dry everything. Hi Barb, how are you? I know, Debbie, as soon as you go buy something, as soon as you go buy it again, you find it. And I don't need them because I have, especially on something that I'm going to use all the time. I am so sorry. I keep freezing. I don't know why. So let's do our little crow. I almost stuck my brush in the brown paint. And my followers are probably saying, put those lids on that paint. Because one day I dropped the black paint all over the floor, and that floor had carpeting. It was awful. And my husband was so sweet while I was doing my live. He was on the floor cleaning it up. But it really stained. It was a light tan carpet. It really stained it. But, you know, I couldn't drop something that was easy to clean up. I had to drop black. When you do it, you got to do it right. Hi, Kathy. So, I always try to, as soon as I'm done with one color, put the lid on it. We don't want to revisit that. So on Thursday on my page, I'm having a sale of trims, fabric, some other things. Hey Teresa, welcome in. Thank you all for being here. It doesn't matter what time I go live, my phone rings, never fails. And if I didn't go live, nobody would call me. Oh, thank you, Jody. So I hope your eye, Jody, is getting better. So if you're not a member of Creative Crafters Assemble, please go join it. It's a free group. Gia does a wonderful job of putting these events together. How she comes up with all the ideas, I don't know. That's where I would lose it. Like, okay, what are we doing now? Now, this black is really soaking in this fabric. I guess I should have Mod Podged this first. Okay, let's get this stuff dry. So, did everybody go away for Easter, or did you guys have somebody in your house to come over? Oh, Jody, I have floaters in my eyes, but they only bother me when I'm extremely tired or if I'm having a flare-up. I gotta get this black paint off my hands. This is Folk Art Multi-Surface. This stuff sticks. I mean, hi Barb. It really sticks. So if you want a really good paint, but it's hard to get off, even your hands. So, hi Leah. Leah McBee, Leah's Creations is up after me. So we still have to put his stripes on. Hi, Angelica. And make sure he's dry to put his stripes on. Hi, Ethel. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. This is Creative Crafters Ensemble. And this is my segment of the tiered tray. I do not know what's going on. I keep pausing. I thought we had problems with our other internet company. This is worse. This black paint takes a while to dry. I know, Kay. It has to be our internet. I don't know. Thank you for the hearts. I greatly appreciate those. Okay. Let's get our little baby bee and put some stripes on him. So I'm just using a small brush. Did I get a smaller one out? Yes, I did. And it also is wet. Put a tiny bit of paint in this lid. And I'm just going to give him some stripes. Now, because my brush is wet, the stripes are going to look faded. Just like the stripes we put on the beehive. So we went to the beach. We were at St. Simon Island. That's in Georgia. And that's where I'm from. So we went to the beach. It was so nice and relaxing. It was nice to hear the waves of the water and collect some shells and get our mind off of our truck that decided to break down. So I'm just going to paint the stinger, just a point black. And then I have tiny little black beads that I'm going to use for eyes. Yeah, the water is, just listening to those waves is so relaxing. And it wasn't so busy, which was nice too. So I need to give my little bee. I know, it's awful. Yeah, listening to those waves is just fantastic. So I'm going to, I didn't think about antennas till this moment. So we're going to give him some wire antennas. And I just have these tiny little black beads that I use for eyes. And we're going to give him 2 eyes. You know what? I think I'm just going to paint them on. I think they'll look better. I'm just going to use the twig that I got and just give him 2 eyes. Just 2 little tiny eyes. And we're going to set him aside and let him dry. We're going back to our beehive. And I just cut a cinnamon stick. On the one I made earlier, I used a twig. And I'm just going to glue it right. I cut a little hole. And I'm going to glue that right on there. Because that is going to be our perch for our bird. Barb, I sent you that pattern. Oh, a waterfall. That would be nice. It is mesmerizing. It like puts you in a trance. So when I was down there, I collected a ton of Spanish moss. So I'm going to glue some of that around this. Just glue it around. Thank you for sprinkling. I appreciate that. Now this is what I collected the last time I was there. And even after it's totally dry, it is still so soft. Unlike the stuff we get in the stores, that is like really hard and brittle. This is really soft, and this has to be a couple months old. So I've got 3 huge containers of Spanish moss this time. So here's our little crow. And I have just a piece of homespun that I'm going to tie around his neck. And I have a rusty star I'm going to put right in the center. Oh, we're doing good. I thought I was needed to hurry up. So I need to slow down. I'm just going to hold that there for a second so it will catch. So there's our little crow. And I'm going to put him right on that perch. Oh yeah, Leah. I don't use a lot of it, but every time I go to my son's, I collect it. So yeah, I'll have some of that in my sale on Thursday. I spent the morning after I worked on this project cleaning it. So I need to hold this so that he'll catch on there. But what amazes me is how soft this is compared to what we go into the stores and buy. Like I said, this is a couple months old and it is still really soft. It's not like hard and brittle. It's not messy, Barb. So there's that. So I'm going to make a hole in the top. Where I put my, there they are. So I had my little scissors here. I will make a hole right in the top. And we're going to put, that's not dry yet. Put our bumblebee there, but I need to grab some more wire. He's not dry yet either. Okay, let's grab some wire. I ran out of rusty wire and I went to make some more. Then I found out I didn't have peroxide. So I got to grab some peroxide. So this is called baling twine. You can get it at a farm store. Amazon has it also. So where's our baby? There's our little bee. So I'm going to make tiny little snips in the top of his head for antennas. Thank you, Kathy. And I'm just using a pencil to wrap this around. And pull it out a little. So this is really nice, this baling twine, because you can cut it with junk scissors. You actually don't need, and these are Dollar Tree scissors, so yeah, it's very easy to cut. My brush just went on the one I already have made, and I'm going to glue it down in its little holes that I just made. Hi, Deborah. Welcome. So you can do this with Chanel stems also. There we go. So we have antennas on our little bee. And I'm using a piece of jute to put around his neck. Better it looks. That's where I have a problem. Oh, crap. I never stop adding details. So I'm going to untwist this jute. And, yeah, we're going to have to do something about this internet. This is getting insane. So up after me is Leah Leah McBee with Leah's Creations. So please watch her. So there he is. And I have a tiny little ladybug. I don't know where I got these. I found them in a little jar when we were moving. So I'm going to put that ladybug right in the middle of his tie there. So they're friends. So I made a little snip right here on the top. And I have another piece of wire that I'm going to curl. Thank you, Donna. Welcome. You snuck in. So I'm just curling it. And then I'm going to straighten out the bottom and the top. So the bee will go on one end and the other end will go inside the Oh, yes, Spectrum. Well, we didn't have a choice. That was the internet provider in this area. Now, the other one, we had problems with it too, so I don't know if there is a good one. And we're not that far from the other house. So, yeah, but we had to go with Spectrum here. So the little baby bee is going to be up there. Hi, Connie. Welcome. So this is what I have so far. So like I said, depends on how big your tiers are between the levels on your tray. Yeah, we're stuck here too. We're stuck. So that's it. So I'm going to put little Spanish moss at the base of that wire. Just stick it right down on there. Ow. Don't stick your finger in the glue. Oh, thanks, Jody. So I'm just going to wrap it right around the base of that because I don't want to just see that wire stuck down in the top. Thanks, Teresa. Thanks, Donna. Oh, thank you for the hearts and thumbs up. So you can make this into a hanger if you actually wanted to. Hi, Diana. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm trying to get paint off my hands so I don't mix my colors up on my items because I got black paint on the gold on my bee. So on him, let's dry him a little bit more. Oh yeah, Connie, you'll have to go back and watch it. So I have some touch up on this little bee to do because I got black paint on him. On his poor little head. So I have to put a couple on that. Okay. thanks, Donna. Thank you all for hopping on here and watching. I wish I would stop freezing. Oh, I do too. I love bees. Well, I don't like bees, but I like this kind of bee stuff. Yep, all the bee things. Okay, I'm getting my colors mixed up because everything isn't dry. Okay, on the bottom of him, I'm going to make another little slit. Hi, Jan. Oh, thank you for sprinkling. And when you do this on something that is sewn, don't cut your seam, cut beside your seam. You cut your seam, your stitches are going to eventually come out. So cut beside your seam. Tiny little snip. Okay, I'm going to put glue on my wire. And I'm going to slide him on there. So please stay tuned to watch Leah. So my wire needs more glue on it, or needs pushed further into my beehive. There we go. Let me put some more glue on that. So I'm glad I dried that little bee because I'd be getting black paint everywhere right now. So I'm pushing this wire further into my bee. Ouch. And holding that while that glue sets. So because the wire's twisted, we can twist it down into that hive a little bit better. There we go. Hi, Becky. Welcome. Someone keeping track of how many times I've just burnt myself. Yeah, that's not fun. Okay, so let's glue that up. So let's hold him till he dries. And I need to touch up his head again, where I stuck my finger in it with the black paint. So while he dries, let me show you what we have so far. So this would be, this size, you would have to have a larger tray. But you can make this any size and use it smaller. So you dry? Not yet. So while that dries, let me sit that there, it'll dry. I want to put one of these little beads on his eye. Oh, I get these from Amazon. They're just tiny little beads. They do have a hole if you wanted to sew them on. Now for my dolls, I do sew them on. I can post a link to that. But for something like this, I just glue it. Yeah. Oh, thanks. Thank you, Becky. I appreciate that. And we'll hold that there till that glue catches. Thank you, Connie. Okay. So I have, this is plastic. It had a little, like a sticker on the back of it where you could stick it on something. I don't know. But I thought I would put this somewhere too. So there, the bee is dry. So I don't know. Maybe up here. No, maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know where I got those at either. I found this little jar. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I found this little jar of these little tiny ladybugs. And it had the daisies and some sunflowers in it. I have no idea where they came from. I don't know if I bought them from somebody's sale or I ordered them or bought them at Hobby Lobby. Yeah, we need your eye to be, it wants to come off. Hi, Michelle. Welcome. Yeah, Kay, you can't watch a video and crochet. You need to keep track of those stitches. Yeah, so I make these bees and the crows and that. I've made tiny, tiny little ones. The tiny little ones are harder to make. So we could put a hanger on this or sit in our tiered tray. So here's one I did with, now it doesn't have the bee on it yet, but here's one I did with the branch. And I just went out my yard this morning and cut it. That's why you stopped? Yeah. Yeah, you would have a big gap in your crochet. So this Spanish moss, I never throw away. Even the tiny little pieces I keep. But it is so different than what we buy in the stores. So I'm putting the lids on my paint because I've almost knocked this one over a couple of times and we don't want to go down that road. So yeah, I just, pieces of dishcloth that I grunched, I sewed them up today. I did get some stuffed. But you'll see these are even smaller crows. But you can make it out of muslin. Drop cloth is really nice to make these out of. Yeah, the smaller you go, even on the little tiny dolls, they're harder to make because you know, you got to watch your stitches and your lines get distorted easier. But don't have to necessarily sew this. You could glue this together, and you could even leave the rough edges and fray them a little bit more so it looked more rustic. But we also could take our coffee and spray over this and grunge it up even more. Oh yeah, anything I make is always for sale. Unless I say it's for a customer, but I can always make something similar if it's customer fabric. But yeah, this is, we have 15 minutes to go. So, somebody had asked me how to make tiny yo-yos. Do I have thread here? Yes, I have a needle threaded. So we'll just use this. So this has nothing to do with the tier tray. But somebody had asked me about making tiny little yo-yos. So all a yo-yo is a circle of fabric that you start with. Now I try to keep all of my scrap fabrics. So I'm just going to cut a circle here. A really small one because that's what I was asked about. That's oval, Jenna. This is a 1-inch circle. I should have put you around my neck. So when you're making a yo-yo, you turn under the edge, the raw edge, just a tiny bit. For the yo-yos, no, but I can put it on there. Just turn under the edge, just a tiny bit. Knotted, your thread has to be knotted. It's double. Now, once you start making these, you can go really quick at them. So all you're doing is a running stitch all the way around. And I have a couple projects coming up using yo-yos. But even here, the smaller you go in your fabric, your circle, the harder they are to make. But once you get the hang of doing it, and you're just flipping under, not even, I don't even know what that would be. It's not an 1/8 inch, it's smaller than that. Just the raw edge, just a tiny little bit. And just do a running stitch all the way around. It's better that you hem. That's what we're doing by flipping under that edge. Oh, Brenda, you're right. That would be. That's what you're doing. If you leave the raw edge, it doesn't look as nice when you're putting it on a project or making a project with these. But see, I'm just hemming it just a tiny little bit all the way around. So all it is a running stitch. And I like to do smaller. The smaller the circle, the smaller my running stitch is. It gives it a nicer center when you pull all this together. So I make yo-yos when we're traveling, when I'm sitting and waiting like a doctor's office or something. I make yo-yos, and I've made so many yo-yos over the years. I'm pretty fast at doing this, but I don't want to go fast showing you all. So we ended up right where we started. And all you do is you pull it. I like to hold my finger in the middle of my yo-yo when I'm pulling my thread, and then pull it closed. Now, how big you leave an opening in the center, it depends on what you want to do with it. I just leave like the very tip of my little finger an opening. So before I tie off my thread, I like to pull out the sides all the way around. And these little ones, sometimes you need to get your needle and pull out those, pull it out, because you have a lot of material bunched up in the center. So that 1-inch circle ended up being a 1/4 inch when we're done. So that's how much fabric it pulls up in the center. So then I just knot it off. And I double knot because like I've made table runners out of yo-yos, and those I hand wash. Anything with a yo-yo on it, I hand wash. But if you don't double knot, it will come apart if your knots aren't. See, that's how little it is. That's the back side. But actually where the gathers are, that is the front side of your yo-yo. Oh, I do too. Now my daughter was younger. I had a store, and for a show I had her help me make yo-yos. She will not, to this day, she's 41, refuses to make a yo-yo. If I ask her to help me do something, no, not if it's a yo-yo. She'll help me do anything else, not a yo-yo. She said I made her make 1 million of them. Little over exaggeration. But yeah, then I just pull it out all the way around. And there's the back. And there's the front. Can you see? Yeah, there we are. Your fingers get sore? Yes, I've made Christmas trees out of yo-yos. Also, you can make a whole bunch of these and chain stitch them together and make a garland, and that looks really nice on a primitive tree, even on an everyday tree. So up after me is Leah with Leah's Creations, Leah McBee, and she always has something fabulous. But if you want to know how to decorate a tiered tray, go back and watch Renee from Rustic Daisies. She went into detail about how to decorate a tray. Okay, Leah. So she's up in 10. So there's a tiny one. So the smaller you go with anything that you're sewing, the harder it's going to be to make. But this is what I do with all my scrap fabric. So I'm going to do a more detailed video because I'm getting a lot of questions. Yo-yos started back in the 1930s. You know, back then you didn't get rid of any fabric. You made something out of every piece of scrap. And if you couldn't make something out of it, then it became a cleaning rag. So they would make thousands of these. Bigger, but thousands of these. And they would put, they do make pretty flowers. Yeah, with a little button in the center. They would sew these side by side, make chains of them, and then make coverlets for beds. But I have made, and because I wasn't planning on doing yo-yo, I have made table runners for my tables out in the living room. But Dawn, I will go into more deep detail about these. But they look really nice on a plain t-shirt, just to go around the neckline and around the sleeves. And if you have a sleeve that is baggy, you can make a pleat and put a yo-yo with a button on that pleat to bring it in a little bit more. But yeah, they make really cute flowers. But I make these all the time. Watching TV. If Tony's watching something I'm really not interested in, I have a little tote and I cut circles of all sizes. And because I have templates that I've cut a million years ago that I just keep using to keep my circles all the same. But they do look really cute. And on an apron, on dish towels, you know, I've put them on hand towels for my guest bathroom, and then embroidered stems and leaves look really cute too. And then one time I put a whole bunch of these 3 rows across the top of a shower curtain. So you can use these for anything, but just make sure that you double knot so it doesn't come undone. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate that. So if you have a pair of baggy pants, you can put a pleat at the bottom and then put some of these down it with little buttons. 601 years. Yes, I have been making yo-yos. Thank you, Jody, for being here. I appreciate you attending. Thank all of you for being here. So Leah's up in a few minutes. Yes, I can show that again. I took a cereal box one time and cut out all different size circles. And, well, my son's 44, so it's been a very long time ago that I did that. But you just need a circle. And it takes up 3/4 of the size of circle you make. Because this started out at 1 inch, and now we're at 1/4, a little bit less than 1/4. I hope everybody has a wonderful day too. This is a nice event. Gia, thank you for having me. So again, I cut an oval. That I don't know. I've never made one with an oval. That might work. So I always like to use a heavier thread than an all-purpose thread, just because depending on what if you're putting these on something you're going to wear, you want to make sure your thread is a lot heavier. Thanks. I appreciate that, Barb. So Leah is up in a few minutes. Just take the edge of your raw, this is your raw edge. It's your cut edge. Just turn it under just a tiny bit. Oh, thank you, Gia. Thank you for having me. And the knot of my thread, when we're done, this is the inside. What is facing you, what you're looking at, is the inside of your flower. So, or your yo-yo. That's where I put my knot. And I just do a running stitch, a tiny running stitch, all the way around. And I fold it under as I go. So once you do them, you get the hang of flipping that raw edge under. I use my first finger doing that. So I've done this for so long that I can do this without looking. So this is great for me watching TV. When I think I need to do something and I don't feel good, or I don't really want to come in here and do a whole project, if I make yo-yos, I feel like I'm doing something. So I just throw the tote beside me on the love seat, and as I get them, I just toss them in. Now, I've never attempted the heart-shaped one. That's interesting. I might try that. I'm willing. When it comes to sewing, I've been sewing since 7th grade, which I'm going to be 65. I'm always willing to learn something new in sewing. That's why I'm taking quilting classes right now, because I want to do traditional quilting. It is relaxing. It really is. Thank you all for hanging out with me. refresh your page if you're on Creative Crafters Ensemble, and you can watch Leah or go to her page. But please join Creative Crafters Ensemble because Leah does a really, really nice job. God bless all of you. Have a great day, and I'll see you over watching Leah. God bless.